Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Randy Orton is your new WWE champion. Otis has lost his Money in the Bank briefcase because of a heel tuck. And Roman Reigns and Jey Uso just had, in my massively inconsistent and wildly subjective opinion, a 5-star match. I'm WrestleTalk's Tribal Chief, Mr. Davis, asking you to please give us a subscribe, super kick that thumbs up button, and enable notifications to always on for daily WWE news and review videos. Like my review of Hell in a Cell 2020 right here, in about 10 minutes. Drew Gulak lost to both R-Truth and Little Jimmy in a handicap match for the 24/7 title on the pre-show. Gulak is so much better than this. And then the main card opened with arguably the biggest and most anticipated match of the night. It was certainly mine. Roman Reigns defending his Bluniversal Championship against his real-life cousin Jey Uso in an I Quit match inside Hell in a Cell. Presented by Skittles. Taste the rainbow of blood. The tale of this match and the entire pay-per-view was how well SmackDown has booked its main event long-term storylines. Roman vs. Jey and Sasha vs. Bayley later weren't only amongst some of the best WWE in-ring matches of the year, but they're enhanced by months, or in Sasha and Bayley's case, half a decade of steadily escalating character work. Roman vs. Jey in an I Quit match was already very logically booked, as Jey never gave up in their Clash of Champions encounter. It was Jimmy throwing in the towel. Not content with just that storyline layer though, SmackDown has added the real-life family element, having the Bluniversal Championship on the line. And in a very interesting pre-match promo, Paul Heyman saying that when Jey says he quits, that effectively puts him in the servitude of the big dog tribal chief, which WrestlingNews.co is reporting will soon form a Roman Usos heel faction. The match itself, with all that context, was expertly structured. Jey got that pent-up pre-Thanksgiving family rage out early, diving Roman onto the cell walls, but that was cut off hard by 2 Reigns spears. Showing Heyman's fingerprints, the finisher button was then spammed, with several more spears and 2 Jey Uso splashes. Both guys' selling of their midsections was superb. Jey introduced a leather strap to whip Roman's back biblical style, and then even choked Reigns out. In another match, Jey would have won right there, but Roman has to say those humiliating words, "I quit." So the drama continued into an incredibly dark final act. Reigns choked out Jey in a guillotine, meaning he was also unable to verbally quit. So Roman went to more and more extreme lengths. Extreme Lengths, title of your wrestling pay-per-view. And also title of my sex tape. Getting over a new serious injury spot, a drive-by dropkick sandwiching Jey's head between the steel steps and the ring post. Producers ran down to get him to stop, but Roman was pathologically obsessed with being recognized as the tribal chief. He was about to legit murder Jey by decapitating him with the steel steps, but Jimmy again threw his body over his brother. And what was already a 4.5-star match entered Tokyo Dome tier. Jey's unconscious. Jimmy is pleading to Roman's humanity, his cousin. Please stop, look at yourself. Roman starts genuinely crying. The emotion and drama appeared to be reaching a crescendo, a family resolution, when you realize Reigns isn't crying at what he's done. He's crying for what he's about to do. He took Jimmy's hand and then pulled him into a guillotine. The injured Jimmy reached desperately for his brother, and Jey screamed, "I quit," to save him. What an incredible way to both do a satisfactory ending, protect Jey in saying "I quit," and get over everyone's characters and their relationships with one another to make you want to see the next chapter more than anything. And then at the top of the ramp, Roman's dad and uncle, the Wild Samoans, joined him not to confront him for beating up their cousins, but to celebrate and confirm Reigns as the head of the family. All of that, plus Roman really got over the guillotine choke as a finishing submission. It got a brilliant amount of time at 30 minutes, and the presentation was perfectly pared back for WWE, which usually has the referee ask if someone's quitting with a microphone every 2 moves. I thought this was even better than their Clash of Champions main event, and is already one of my favourite matches of the year. I loved loved this. I think it's a 5-star match of the year in WWE. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. It was a tough act to follow, so Elias versus Jeff Hardy was more just a continuation of their 2-week-old feud, with Jeff losing via DQ when he hit Elias with the guitar, confirming WWE never actually had any plans for how Otis would cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase when they booked him to win it. SmackDown has been struggling to get it off him for months, and they shockingly went through with that here, having Tucker turn heel on Otis, hitting him with the briefcase for Miz to pick up the win and the Money in the Bank title shot. It was an exciting and newsworthy moment, but unlike Roman versus Jey, where I can't wait to see what happens next, it made me pessimistic about where everyone goes from here. Miz won't be cashing in on Randy anytime soon, they're both heels, implying they don't have any plans for him either, and Tucker and Otis are on different brands. A Survivor Series inter-brand match makes most sense, but it'll most likely fizzle out, as WWE were always more interested in Otis anyway. Do you think Otis losing the briefcase was a good idea? Let me know in the comments. What was a good idea though was Bayley versus Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's title inside Hell in a Cell. Not just good because this is the breakup climax of their year-long friendship and recent split storyline, but also for all the other layers of context aligned to make it even more momentous. On top of their history of over half a decade stretching back to NXT, Bayley has held her title for over a year, a title Banks has never won. Bayley has never been inside Hell in a Cell, whereas Sasha has competed in every single one in WWE history and lost. All of those storytelling layers would have been enough on their own, but Banks and Bayley put on a match to rival Reigns versus Jey anyway. Thanks for your support on Patreon, Shield Maiden, the Zornice. Some of the best babyface stories are about failing and coming back a little bit better, failing, then coming back even better than before, learning from your mistakes, adapting and overcoming obstacles. And after 2 years of losing at Hell in a Cell, Sasha used all that experience against Bayley, basing her incredibly innovative offense around the cell walls. Further establishing the difference in strategy, most of Bayley's offense were weapons inside the ring. That's where the majority of the final act happened, with near falls to rival their TakeOver Brooklyn bout, particularly an amazing belly to Bayley from Sasha onto a ladder, probably the only time ever that finisher has been believable. And then WWE did the right thing, going with the aligned stars and paying off Sasha's feuds against Bayley and the Hell in a Cell structure itself, trapping Bayley's neck in a chair with a bank statement and stomping on it until she tapped. She'll probably lose it on her first title defense, but for now, congratulations, the boss. I'd give this 4 3/4 just because it didn't make me cry like Reigns versus Jey, but it was still one of the best WWE matches of the year. We went right into a lesson in how not to get over a new faction after that, having Bobby Lashley make Slapjack tap in 3 minutes on pay-per-view, and then have Retribution run away from the Hurt Business, they're dead in the water. Putting Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre as the main event harmed it in 2 ways. Firstly, it was the 3rd Hell in a Cell match of the night, and stipulation fatigue is real. Secondly, making it the show closer made an Orton win more predictable, or that Brock Lesnar could return and cause a DQ. Everything the SmackDown matches had in months or years of storyline escalating build, Raw has unfortunately made Orton versus Drew less interesting with every Monday night. It meant this climax lacked the same emotional intensity, and the majority of spots had been bettered by the other 2 Hell in a Cell bouts earlier on. To combat this, Orton climbed to the top of the cage for an underwhelming and contrived reveal that he'd put a pipe up there to use as a weapon, making you ask, well, why couldn't you have put that under the ring like you did with the bolt cutters to get out of the cage to get to the top to get the pipe? Randy pushed Drew off the side as they were climbing down, sending him through the announcer's table, and they traded finishers in the ring for Orton to win with an RKO. What did you think of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view? Let me know in the comments down below because I'll be replying to people. From out of Roman Reigns' flowery necklace. What's that thing called? While the main event was lackluster and the other matches were mostly filler, Reigns versus Jey and Sasha versus Bayley were near perfect combinations of long-term storytelling and excellent in-ring drama. This year's Hell in a Cell is therefore a very, very high 4 out of 5. If you enjoyed this video, please stunner the subscribe and thumbs up buttons and enable notifications to always on, because me and Lukewarm Luke Owen have a live stream podcast review of Hell in a Cell later today. In the meantime, watch WrestleTalk's Hell in a Cell live reactions with Pete dressed up as Nikki Bella by clicking the video on the right, and watch our breakdown of AEW versus NXT Year 1 on Wrestle2 by clicking the video below that. I've been Mr. Davis. Jam that jam.